swirling a $40 glass of Cabernet at the city's most exclusive restaurant. I watched my mother-in-law hold court from across the mahogany table. She was busy bragging to 15 friends about her lavish lifestyle, completely oblivious to one crucial detail. The bank account she intended to use for this $4,000 dinner no longer existed. I never thought my marriage would end over a jar of face cream, but looking back, the $380 charge for creme de la mer was the thread that unraveled my entire life. My name is Daisy. For the past 6 years, I've worked as a regional director for an enterprise software company. It's high stress, high travel, and high reward. I met Liam when I was 26. He was charming, handsome, and introduced himself as a freelance financial consultant. What I didn't realize until after we were married was that freelance was code for unemployed, and consultant meant he occasionally helped his mother, Barbara, manage her incredibly messy, debt-ridden life. When we got married, Liam and I opened a joint checking account at Chase. The agreement was simple. We would split the household bills 70/30, reflecting our income disparity. But within 6 months, Liam's 30% started getting delayed by clients. Soon, I was funding 100% of the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, and the lifestyle he had quickly grown accustomed to. I loved him, so I justified it. I told myself marriages are partnerships, and sometimes one person carries the load while the other finds their footing. But I wasn't just carrying Liam. I was carrying Barbara. Barbara was a woman who lived her life like she was starring in a reality show that no one was filming. She wore knockoff Chanel suits, drove a leased Mercedes she couldn't afford, and treated me with a thinly veiled disdain. To Barbara, I was too corporate, too masculine in my ambition, and not nearly deferential enough to her golden boy, Liam. "You know, Daisy," she said to me one Thanksgiving, sipping wine I had bought in my kitchen, "a man needs a wife, not a roommate who's always on a plane. Liam tells me you're barely home. You should be careful. Men have needs." I had bitten my tongue, choosing peace over war. But the real war, I would soon discover, was financial. It started innocently enough. I was reviewing the joint account statements in my home office one rainy Tuesday evening. I usually just glanced at the bottom line, but that day, a pending charge caught my eye. $380 at a high-end department store cosmetics counter. I use drugstore moisturizer. I certainly don't buy La Mer. When I asked Liam about it, he didn't even blink. "Oh, my card got declined at the register because of a fraud alert, so I used the joint debit. It was a Mother's Day gift for Mom. I'll transfer the money back from my business account on Friday." Friday came and went. The money never appeared. Over the next few months, the emergencies became frequent. A $600 charge at a mechanic. "Mom's brakes went out. I had to help her," Liam said, looking at me with those big puppy dog eyes. A $450 charge for a weekend hotel stay. My sister Stephanie needed a place to crash because her apartment flooded. Stephanie, my sister-in-law, was a 24-year-old aspiring influencer who still lived in her childhood bedroom. Her apartment hadn't flooded. She just wanted a staycation downtown. I started feeling less like a wife and more like an ATM. I brought it up to Liam in September, my voice shaking with frustration. "Liam, the joint account is for our mortgage and our bills. It's not a slush fund for your mother and sister. If you want to help them, use your own money." He instantly grew defensive, his charm evaporating into cold resentment. "Family takes care of family, Daisy. You make more than enough. Why are you nickel and diming my mother? She raised me as a single parent. I owe her." "You owe her," I replied, staring him dead in the eyes. "I don't." We went to sleep with our backs to each other that night. The next morning, I logged into the bank to set up an alert. If the account dropped below a certain threshold, I would get a text. I thought setting boundaries would fix the problem. I was so incredibly naive. I had no idea that Liam and Barbara didn't see my boundaries as a stop sign. They saw them as a puzzle to solve, and their solution was about to blow our marriage into pieces. November rolled around, bringing with it the looming shadow of Barbara's 60th birthday. For weeks, it was all she talked about. She had selected the Belvedere, a breathtakingly pretentious restaurant in the city where entrees started at $80 and you had to know someone just to get a reservation. She had invited 15 of her closest friends, mostly women from her country club, who were equally steeped in debt and denial. It's going to be a milestone, Liam told me over coffee one morning. Mom is going all out. We just need to show up and celebrate her. Who's paying for all this? I asked, raising an eyebrow. I knew Barbara's financial reality better than her friends did. Her credit cards were maxed, and she was living off the remnants of a meager alimony settlement. Liam waved his hand dismissively. Mom's got it covered. She saved up for it. It's her big 6-0. Let her have her moment, Daisy. I wanted to believe him. I really did. I had just received my massive Q3 quarterly bonus, $35,000 after taxes, and I had deposited it directly into our joint account, planning to move a large chunk of it to my personal investment portfolio by the end of the week. 2 days before the dinner, fate intervened in the form of a dead iPhone battery. I was working from the kitchen island, and my phone died in the middle of a conference call. Panicking, I grabbed Liam's iPad, which was sitting on the counter, knowing my iCloud was linked to it so I could pull up a document I needed. Liam had left the tablet unlocked. As I swiped the screen to find my files, a banner notification dropped down from the top. It was an iMessage from Barbara. Barbara. Just confirmed the private room at the Belvedere. It's going to be around $4,200 with the wine pairings. My stomach dropped. I tapped the notification. I shouldn't have, but the instinct for self-preservation took over. I opened the group chat between Liam, Barbara, and Stephanie. What I read in that thread didn't just break my heart, it incinerated it. Liam, that's steep, Mom, but okay. Barbara, make sure the money is in the joint account by Friday. I'll put my gold card down at the table so I look good in front of the girls. But I'll need you to pay the credit card bill online immediately on Saturday, using Daisy's bonus. Stephanie, make sure you get her to pay for my Uber Black there too. Liam, done. She just got her quarterly payout on Tuesday. The money is sitting there. I'll take care of the bill on Saturday. Just tell Daisy the dinner is your treat so she doesn't ask questions. Barbara, you're a good son, Liam. I don't know why she's so stingy with you. Once she gets promoted next year, we need to look into getting you on the deed to the house. I stopped breathing. The kitchen felt like it was spinning. I scrolled up further, my hands trembling. Months of texts revealed a shadow economy running out of my paycheck. Liam had been systematically transferring $500 here, $800 there, funneling my earnings into Barbara's bank account. They had rehearsed arguments to manipulate me. They had mocked my work ethic. Stephanie had jokingly called me the sugar mama. I wasn't a partner. I was a host organism, and my husband and his family were the parasites. The shock lasted exactly 5 minutes. Then, the grief hit. I sank to the kitchen floor and cried for the marriage I thought I had, for the man I thought I loved. I cried until my chest ached. But when the tears stopped, something else took their place. Rage. Pure, crystalline, ice-cold rage. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and splashed cold water on my face. I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red, but my jaw was set. I was done being the victim. I was done being their ATM. It was 10 a.m. on Thursday. The dinner was Friday night at 7 p.m. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to the Chase Bank branch downtown. I walked in, my heels clicking sharply against the tile floor, and asked to speak to the branch manager, a woman named Brenda whom I had dealt with when setting up our mortgage. Brenda brought me into her glass-walled office. Hi, Daisy. How can I help you today? I need to make a withdrawal, Brenda, I said, my voice steady and completely void of emotion. A large one. Of course. From the joint checking? Yes. I want to transfer exactly $48,200 to my individual checking account. Brenda tapped her keyboard. That will leave exactly $12.50 in the joint account. Perfect, I smiled tightly. I also need you to revoke the overdraft protection on that joint account immediately. If a charge is attempted for more than $12.50, I want it to hard decline. No line of credit. No temporary coverage. Decline. Brenda paused, looking at me over her glasses. She had been in banking long enough to know what a financial divorce looked like before the lawyers even got involved. Daisy, as a joint owner, you have the right to withdraw the funds, but removing overdraft requires both signatures. Or, you can just close the account entirely and open a new joint one. Then close it, I said without missing a beat. Close the entire joint account right now. Hand me a cashier's check for the $12.50. I can do that, Brenda said quietly. but any cards linked to this account will be deactivated instantly. I'm counting on it, I replied. 20 minutes later, I walked out of that bank with a cashier's check for $12.50 and $48,200 safely locked away in a new single-owner account that Liam couldn't touch. I went home and put the $12.50 cashier's check inside a sealed envelope. I wrote "Happy 60th, Barbara" on the front. The next 24 hours were a masterclass in psychological warfare. I smiled at Liam over dinner that night. I packed my laptop bag the next morning. I acted like the oblivious, hard-working wife they all thought I was. Friday evening arrived. I put on my best black dress, applied my favorite red lipstick, and slipped the envelope into my clutch. Liam wore a tailored suit, one I had paid for. Naturally. "You look beautiful," Liam said, kissing my cheek as we waited for the valet to bring my car around. "Ready for a long night of Mom's stories?" "Oh, Liam," I said, turning to look at him with a perfectly serene smile. "You have no idea how much I'm looking forward to tonight. It's going to be unforgettable." Walking into the Belvedere was like stepping into a jewelry box. The lighting was low and amber, reflecting off the crystal chandeliers and the polished mahogany tables. The air smelled of expensive perfume, roasted garlic, and old money. The maitre led Liam and me to the private dining room at the back, a secluded alcove draped in heavy velvet curtains. Barbara was already there, holding court at the head of a long table set for 15. She wore a sequined emerald gown that screamed desperation and clutched a glass of vintage champagne. To her right sat her daughter, Stephanie, busy adjusting a ring light attached to her iPhone to film her outfit for her 300 followers. To her left sat her country club cronies, a flock of women draped in pearls and pastel silk, hanging on to Barbara's every word. "Ah, there he is!" Barbara shrieked, clapping her hands together as we entered. "My golden boy, the man who makes it all happen." She stood up and embraced Liam, kissing him on both cheeks. She barely glanced in my direction. "Hello, Daisy. So glad you could make it after your— what is it you do again? Computer sales?" "Enterprise software architecture," I corrected politely, taking my seat at the far end of the table. "Happy birthday, Barbara." "Yes, well, whatever pays the little bills, right?" She laughed, a shrill sound that echoed off the acoustic paneling. She turned back to her friends. "You know, Liam is a financial consultant. He manages portfolios. I'm so blessed to have a son who takes such good care of his mother." I picked up my water glass and took a slow sip. "Enjoy the fantasy, Barbara," I thought. The credits are about to roll. The dinner was a masterclass in gluttony. Knowing that Liam and, by extension, my Q3 bonus was footing the bill, Barbara and Stephanie held absolutely nothing back. They ordered the Grand Seafood Tower to start, a monstrous structure of Maine lobster, king crab legs, and beluga caviar that cost $450 alone. When the main courses arrived, Barbara insisted on the A5 Wagyu beef for herself, and Stephanie demanded that the waiter shave fresh white truffles over her risotto. "Truffles make the lighting in my videos pop," Stephanie explained to the table, completely seriously. Liam was playing his part perfectly, playing the role of the benevolent patriarch. He ordered 3 bottles of Dom Perignon, toasting to his mother's health, her beauty, and her legacy. Every time he raised his glass, I smiled. It wasn't a fake smile either. I was genuinely enjoying myself. There is a very specific, intoxicating peace that comes with knowing you hold the detonator to the bomb sitting under the table. For 2.5 hours, I listened to them brag. I listened to Liam imply that he had just closed a massive deal. I listened to Barbara tell her friend Susan that Liam was looking into buying a second home in the Hamptons. "Just a little summer place," Barbara cooed. "Somewhere for family." Finally, the plates were cleared, the espresso was served, and the dessert plates were practically licked clean. It was 9:45 p.m. The moment of truth had arrived. Our waiter, a tall, impeccably groomed man whose name tag read Daniel, approached the table holding a black leather folio. He placed it discreetly to the right of Barbara, as it was her birthday, but gave Liam a deferential nod. "Thank you, Daniel," Barbara said loudly, making sure the entire table was watching. "I will be taking care of this." She opened the folio. I saw her eyes widen fractionally at the final number, which I later learned was exactly $4,285.60 after the mandatory 20% gratuity for large parties. But Barbara was a seasoned actress. She didn't miss a beat. She reached into her Chanel bag and dramatically produced a gold American Express card, slapping it onto the tray. "Nothing is too good for my friends," she announced. Daniel bowed slightly. "Right away, madam." He walked away. I started counting in my head. 1, 2, 3. It took exactly 4 minutes for Daniel to return. His professional smile was strained. He leaned down, whispering into Barbara's ear, "I apologize, madam, but the card has been declined. Would you happen to have another method of payment?" Barbara's face flushed a deep, mottled crimson. "Declined? That's impossible. It must be a fraud alert. I've been spending so much lately. You know how these banks are." She forced a laugh, looking at Susan and Martha, who were suddenly very interested in their espresso cups. "I'll handle it, Mom," Liam said smoothly, right on cue. This was the plan, after all. He was supposed to save the day, and then secretly use my bonus to pay off whatever card she had just maxed out. "Let me take care of it." Liam reached into his tailored suit jacket and pulled out his Chase Visa debit card, the shiny blue card linked to our now-deceased joint account. He handed it to Daniel with a confident smirk. "Try this one, Daniel. No limit." "Certainly, sir." Daniel took the card and retreated again. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my legs. My heart was thumping a steady, powerful rhythm against my ribs. When Daniel returned 3 minutes later, he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by a man in a sharp charcoal suit, Mr. Harrison, the general manager of the Belvedere. You don't bring the general manager over unless something is fundamentally wrong. The dining room went dead silent. Even Stephanie stopped recording. Mr. Harrison stepped up to Liam. "Sir, I sincerely apologize for the intrusion, but there seems to be an issue with this card as well." Liam frowned, his confidence faltering. "An issue? Did you run it as credit?" "Sometimes you have to run it as credit." "We did, sir," Mr. Harrison said, keeping his voice as low as possible, though in the quiet room, everyone heard him. "The terminal didn't cite insufficient funds, sir. It cited account closed. The bank has rejected the card entirely." Liam's jaw dropped. "Closed? That's impossible. I have over 50 grand in that account. I literally deposited my wife's. A massive bonus was deposited just Tuesday." "I assure you, sir, the terminal says the account does not exist," Mr. Harrison replied, his tone firming up. "If you have another card, or perhaps cash, the total is $4,285.60. Liam's hands began to shake. He pulled out his phone and frantically opened the Chase mobile banking app. I watched the color drain completely out of his face. The app loaded. His personal checking account was there, sitting at a pathetic $342. The joint account, the one that usually sat right above it, was entirely gone. "Where is it?" Liam muttered, tapping the screen aggressively. "Where is the account?" "It's gone. It's just gone." He looked up, panic darting in his eyes. He looked at Barbara, who was hyperventilating slightly. He looked at Mr. Harrison. And then, slowly, he looked at me. I was sitting perfectly still, my chin resting on my hand, wearing a look of absolute chilling serenity. "Daisy," Liam whispered, his voice cracking. "The account. Where is the joint account?" "Oh, that?" I said, my voice clear and loud enough for everyone at the table to hear. "I closed it. Yesterday morning. Right after my meeting with Brenda down at the main branch." You closed it?" Liam stammered, standing up from his chair. "Why would you close it? All our money was in there." "Correction, Liam," I said, my tone as sharp as shattered glass. "All my money was in there, and considering how freely it was being spent, I decided I needed a better bank. One that doesn't allow unauthorized dependents to drain my salary." Barbara gasped, clutching her pearls, literally clutching them. "Daisy, how dare you make a scene at my birthday dinner? Liam, do something." "Mom, I can't do anything, the money is gone," Liam yelled, finally losing his cool. He turned back to me, his face twisted in rage. "You transferred $48,000 without telling me? You can't do that. That's marital property. Put it back." "I don't think I will," I replied smoothly. I reached into my clutch and pulled out the crisp white envelope. I slid it across the mahogany table until it stopped right in front of Barbara's plate. "I didn't leave you completely empty-handed, though," I said. "Happy 60th, Barbara. Open it." With trembling, manicured hands, Barbara ripped open the envelope. She pulled out the Chase cashier's check. $12? She whispered, horrified. $12.50? That's exactly what you contributed to my household this year, Barbara. Actually, I'm being generous, considering you and your son have been stealing from me for the last 8 months. Stealing? Stephanie shrieked, finally putting her phone down. You're psychotic. Liam, call the police. Oh, please do, Stephanie, I smiled, pulling out Liam's iPad from my bag. I had brought it with me. I unlocked it, tapping directly to the iMessage app, because if the police come, I'd love to show them this group chat. The one where Barbara says, make sure you get her to pay for my Uber Black there, too. And where Liam replies, the money is sitting there. I'll take care of the bill on Saturday. Just tell Daisy the dinner is your treat so she doesn't ask questions. I read the texts out loud, my voice carrying the projection of a seasoned corporate executive in a boardroom. I didn't rush. I let every single word land. Susan, Martha, and the rest of the country club friends were staring at Barbara with expressions of sheer disgust. The illusion of wealth had been shattered, revealing the pathetic, grifting reality underneath. You've been funneling my paychecks to fund your mother's lifestyle, Liam, I said, standing up. You treated my career like it was a trust fund for your family. You thought I was too busy working to notice, but the thing about people who actually work for their money, we know exactly what it's worth. Daisy, please, Liam begged, his anger instantly dissolving into pathetic desperation as he realized his audience was turning against him. We can talk about this. Don't do this here, please. Just pay the bill and we can go home and talk. I am going home, Liam, I said, picking up my clutch. But you aren't. I've already had the locks changed. That was a slight lie. I couldn't legally change the locks without notice. What I had done was pack every single item of his clothing, his golf clubs, and his PlayStation, and stacked them neatly in the driveway under a tarp. I turned to Mr. Harrison, who had been watching the drama unfold with stoic professionalism. I handed him my new, heavy-metal personal credit card. Mr. Harrison, please charge this card exactly $185. That covers my glass of Cabernet, the side salad I ate, and a very generous tip for Daniel, who has been wonderful. Of course, ma'am, Mr. Harrison said, taking the card. As for the remaining $4,100, I said, looking back at Liam, Barbara, and Stephanie. I suggest the financial consultant here figures out a payment plan. Or perhaps Stephanie can wash dishes for the next 6 months. The lighting in the kitchen might be great for her TikTok. I didn't wait for a response. I turned on my heel and walked out of the private room, the velvet curtains swishing shut behind me. As I walked through the main dining room, I heard the muffled, chaotic shouting erupt from the alcove. Liam yelling, Barbara sobbing, Stephanie screaming. It was the most beautiful symphony I had ever heard. I stepped out into the cool November air. A sleek black SUV was waiting at the curb the Uber Black Stephanie had demanded I pay for. I opened the door, slid into the leather seat, and told the driver to take me home. The fallout over the next few months was brutal, but for me, it was completely triumphant. The Monday following the dinner, I met with Catherine Bennett, a shark of a divorce attorney at Bennett and Hayes Family Law, who specialized in financial infidelity. I handed her the iPad, the bank statements, and the texts. Catherine didn't just file for divorce, she unleashed a forensic accountant on Liam. What we found was staggering. Liam hadn't just been paying his mother's bills, he had been siphoning money into an offshore crypto wallet he thought I couldn't trace. Because he had committed financial fraud against his spouse, the judge threw the book at him. Our prenup, which Liam had eagerly signed years ago, assuming I would never make real money, was enforced strictly. The house? It was solely in my name, purchased before we were married. The judge ordered Liam to repay every cent he had covertly transferred to his mother, effectively bankrupting him. Barbara couldn't afford her leased Mercedes anymore. The dealership repossessed it right out of her driveway in broad daylight, right in front of Susan and Martha. Without my income to prop them up, Barbara was forced to sell her jewelry and downsize to a cramped 2-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of the city. Liam had to move in with her, sleeping in a twin bed in the room next to Stephanie, who was finally forced to get a job at a local mall kiosk. As for me, I got that promotion. I kept my money, I kept my house, and I kept my peace. Sometimes, when I'm drinking my drugstore coffee in the quiet of my own kitchen, I think about that $12.50 cashier's check. I wonder if Barbara ever cashed it. I doubt it. After all, pride is a very expensive thing to maintain when you're completely broke. That's the story of how a $380 jar of face cream led to the ultimate takedown of a greedy husband and an entitled mother-in-law. If you loved seeing Daisy stand her ground and serve up some serious financial karma, smash that like button right now. Have you ever had to cut off a toxic relative who treated you like an ATM? Tell me your story in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life drama, revenge stories, and satisfying justice. Share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.